Welcome to the journey, my friends. Here we are. Hello. Good afternoon. Ciri's journey begins. Participate by playing matches and completing weekly quests, gain legendary vanities, learn story about Ciri's adventures. We are here at Season of the Dragon. There's a lot of good stuff in the patch. There are some things in the patch that I don't like. That's how I'll say that sentence. There's a lot of good things, but there are some things that I need to talk to you about. But that will make for a very robust stream. We've got Speed GWENT coming back. It's Season of the Dragon. Quite possibly the best season in the game. Okay, the first thing, the banner feature, journey, right? Ciri's journey. Last journey, we had Dandelion and Geralt. Geralt being the feature premium model. This time it's August. We got another big block of quests and fun stuff to do, and it's going to be Ciri. Let's take a look at what we have here. So Vesemir is your standard, where Dandelion was before, and Ciri is the premium. It appears that the style of the journey is the same. These are some nice borders. No, I see these dope borders hiding here. Like the training of young Ciri. Look at this. Haircut Ciri. Shaved head. The Skellige border. Kaer Morhen. Yeah, I like this. So should we just take a look here? The patch is... We have got a lot of changes to talk about, and I'm going to go through them pretty fast here. But I get to do it now because my favorite site here, GWENT.1, has this awesome visual list. So that's about the length of the list here. I just scrolled through it really fast. I am going to go through it. We are going to talk about it. I'm not going to leave you hanging on that. So this is patch 7.1, the journey patch. We're coming off the Season of the Griffin. Skellige reigned supreme. They were nerfed hard to the ground, and they still reigned supreme. So there was a lot of expectation coming into this patch as what would be done to shape the meta of the Season of the Dragon here in August. And let's go through some of these changes. First of all, there are some changes to the Ciri cards, kind of to celebrate the Ciri journey. These cards are a bit more playable or different. I don't think any of them are going to be game-changing, but I do think that they are still interesting enough that we're going to make some decks with them. Absolutely. And since this is the first Friday coming up of the month, I am dying to get into the arena with you all for Fight Night. So we're going to see what kind of new decks people can come up with these new set of changes. So let's go through these changes. First of all, Ceremonial Dagger goes from damaging an enemy unit by 3 to give an enemy unit bleeding by 5. This is the beginning of a number of things that I don't like in the patch, where it looks like they wanted to add new cards to the game, but they did it by deleting old cards. This one I can get my head around, because improving Ceremonial Dagger would mean that it would have to be damage an enemy unit by 4, which is absolutely not a threshold increase that is insignificant. But they still wanted to make the stratagem more powerful, I guess, to kind of keep up with the evolving game. The power level of the game is increasing a little bit. Game's a bit more fast-paced, a bit more swingy. However, a Ceremonial Dagger goes from being something that can help you with removal reach, which was fast, into something very slow, something that's giving one enemy unit bleeding by 5. So this is bad because not only are you not getting your value up front, your opponent can answer it as well, and it doesn't help you remove. The card is way worse now, and it's the beginning of a couple of changes that I feel like some things were made worse when they could have just been made new cards. A stratagem that gives bleeding, that's not a bad idea, but taking away the Ceremonial Dagger to do it, I don't like it. So Ciri, big change for Ciri is that she's gone up by 2 provisions, but she also damages. She comes in with 3 enemy damage when you play her. This is important mostly because of her effect, which hasn't changed. When you lose a round, you return this unit to your hand from the battlefield, I imagine, not from the graveyard. I imagine it's... Battlefield isn't used in the tooltip, but I'm pretty sure it works the same way. But what makes this card better now is that when you play her the second time, you're not just playing 4 points. You're playing something that actually does give you removal reach, could actually remove something, and does something a bit more. So in some ways, it's it's like Crow Mother, where you like the secondary effect a lot, but you're still okay playing her because she's 8 points and she does stuff for your board. I think that Ciri is much different than that, and I'll have to play with it, but I know that the effect of picking a card up drastically changes who has how many cards in a game. So it changes the danger threshold when you're playing against somebody who you think could have this card, because ultimately the hand limit makes this card it keeps this card from being as oppressive as it was, right? However, if you're drawing up to the hand limit, it shouldn't be a problem. So there is going to be kind of a new threshold of consideration. I'm probably going to have a bumpy ride through it. We'll see how it goes. The new Ciri Nova. So old Ciri Nova is gone. This card never really worked. And I will say that we have given this card a lot of chances, a lot of patches, a lot of expansions where they maybe could have made this card better. But this card is no longer in the game. This is a change where I'm a little bit more understanding, because this card's been in the game since Homecoming, and it was the fringiest of fringe cards. The fringiest. So Ciri Nova is now a deck building card, which is great because Ciri Nova always was. Nice. I see what you did. I like the flavor there. If your starting deck does not have any cards with provision cost 10 or more, you can play Ciri as an 8 strength, resilient, shielded, veiled unit. This is very cool to me. The reason why I find this cool is not because Ciri Nova herself is going to be all that great. I'm not convinced. I'm not convinced that the card is great. But I think that when we start to play with decks that have these meaty middles of just pure 9 provision cards, we're gonna see that if you have higher than average card quality, sometimes it doesn't matter. You go to the short round, maybe you get your resilient Ciri to stick, and then you just have higher card quality. I think it actually could be a thing. You don't have to play. Yeah, you don't even have to play 4-point cards in this deck. Probably you could probably go 5 to 9 and just run like a nice, reliable, consistent deck. So we got to check this out. I think Ciri Nova actually is the biggest of the 3 Ciri changes. Now, was there not a change to the other Ciri? Ciri Dash was the 11. It's 11 provision, 5 strength. After 5 turns, draw a card. Which was, now this card did see the odd play here and there. So I'm happy to report that the card itself doesn't change. It's actually cheaper now, 10 provisions, thanks Gulo. It's 10 provisions, and it pulls the card in 4 turns. So again, there's now a danger threshold that both of these series put you kind of thinking about. So I think that these cards are going to be more interesting. I don't think they're going to be competitive. But that's not why we play Gwent on stream. So I'm more excited for it. Now we have the Crystal Skull change. Crystal Skull used to be purify an allied unit and boost it by 4. And now it is boost an allied unit by 4 and then give it Veil. Again, this is another change that I don't like. I think that this could have just been another stratagem. It just could have been a different card. Now I can't run a stratagem that can purify a unit. I can't hold on to the Crystal Skull and make my opponent decide when to do stuff to me. I can't get that guaranteed value of getting rid of at least a lock or a bleed in the first round. Now I have this Veil. I don't like it. Living Armor is now buffed. It's now only an 11 provision card. And the reason why this card was buffed is its most oppressive combo card, Cairnthyr, was changed to now be faction restricted. So Living Armor can no longer be Cairnthyr. And of course, this has massive ramifications for Cairnthyr. We'll talk about that a little bit later. Master Mirror got a buff. Now it's cheaper to put in your deck, so you can try even more crazy combos. Let's go Portal. Primordial Dow now has a shield and is cheaper. So it's a card that does a bit more, and now it's just cheaper to include. So just the general improvement. It's just changing kind of the scale of power. And here we are with Cairnthyr. Cairnthyr is now a 4-strength unit, but can only do his thing to a monster's card. So you do get a little bit of an exchange, but this means that Cairnthyr's actual ability is more about copying a card. Shinmiri, was this an intentional host? I know you've been having some internet issues, and I hope you didn't have to cut your stream early, and I hope you're getting settled in. My man Shinmiri, what's going on? You get so hyped. Hey, if you like that raid notification, if you like that tune, those are my boys Between the Buried and Me. This weekend, you should sub to their Twitch channel. You get to be part of the sound check. They're doing it on Twitch. Everybody can be in the crowd. I'm going to be there. I love Between the Buried and Me. And they are a Twitch band. They are a band that has embraced Twitch in the COVID times. What was I talking about? All right. Caranthir. So, Caranthir, Kikamore Queen. Now that we've calmed down here. Whew, what a crazy host. Caranthir, Kikamore Queen will live. Caranthir, Oberon will live, at least until we find out what the future of Death Shadow is. So, I mean, right now, this is still a card that can be played in a number of ways that can definitely be competitive, all the way up to the very, very top. Double Oberon's great deck. Kikamore Queen, I mean, I've loved it, I've hated it in my life. So, I think that, unfortunately, the big problem is the Living Armor strat is gone. So, with the Living Armor strat being gone, as well as the Ethereal strat, but the Ethereal strat, in my opinion, was abuse. Living Armor just felt like, I mean, it was a ton of points, obviously. Didn't really feel abusive. Doesn't really feel like you're trying to get your opponent with their pants down. You're just playing points. So this change does take competitive Ethereal to a different place. I don't know. I know the card is probably still very playable in Monsters. But you can't push it in the same way. I think the change is probably fair because later you see Northern Realms got the same treatment. Much like similar factions got similar treatment. They don't get it all done at once. But this is kind of like the final say in faction restrictive effects. We don't have very many more of those left in the game. Now let's talk about this unfortunate situation here. Oh boy, Imlerith. Oh god. So Imlerith, who used to be Nithril, got a new effect in a previous patch where he had a deploy set an allied unit and then the dominance effect that you've known for a couple of months. So Imlerith used to be Nithril and then was Imlerith, and now Imlerith is Gels. Remember, Gels used to be Weavis Incantation, and what Gels can do now is he can pull a Wild Hunt card from the deck. So as you can tell, I'm exhausted by this ability and these changes. Poor Imlerith. You just can't. It's like some of the artworks in this game. CDPR looks at the artwork and it's like they don't know what to do anymore. It's like this artwork has just been a problem artwork. Imlerith Sabbath breaking the game when he did, and now is just causing just weird, nonsensical things to happen. Imlerith, for no good reason, is gone. This ability is no longer in the game. This big, beefy 12 provision card that they introduced, like, what, 3 months ago? It's just gone now. They coded it, and then they decoded it. Now Imlerith is this Gels ability that just changed last patch. Anyway, Gels is now a Wild Hunt tutor. I'm just going to move on. Old Spear Tip as a buff. Now it's 9 for 9. Cool. Fire Scorpion. We get a buff on the strength. So now it's a bit more survivable, which is a bit more in line with a 5 provision engine. Impera Brigade is now a strictly better pack hound. I'm going to need to get... I haven't played or really analyzed this, but Impera Brigade now buffed to 5 provision means that pack hound is just worse, right? It's just a worse card. Am I crazy or am I crazy? Spirit of his Veil as well. Yeah, sorry, I was looking. I started seeing red up here, and it's not because of all these nerf colors and monsters colors. I had to get past it. So, yeah, 2 buffs for Nilfgaard, and let's just move on. A what? Yeah, that's really what happened. I'm saying 2 buffs for Nilfgaard in this patch, and that's it. Let's go. No, maybe I just should. Hold on a second, guys. I just forgot. I forgot. Control F VINC. Maybe the website just spelt Vincent wrong. Nope, just kidding, guys. Nilfgaard got absolutely 0 nerfs. Now let's get into the Northern Realms nerfs. Oh man, Queen of Dahlia. Now, this one's actually not a nerf. No, what I just said about Northern Realms, I actually don't think that it's not. I don't think that Northern Realms got hit that badly here. I really don't. So Queen Adalia can no longer play a neutral card, which means that she can no longer play Caravan Vanguards, and that's it. But she still gets buffed. Now she's a 10 provision card and she does all the dirty things she used to do except for Vanguard. Let me tell you guys something. This is a massive buff. You could argue that she needed no compensation for this. Queen Adalia is a very, very strong card, proven time and time again, I think. And this is going to be great to have her at 10, honestly. It's going to be great to have her at 10. There's tons of cards you can play with Adalia. Caravan Vanguard, of course, it hurts Throg, for sure. It hurts Throg for sure, but it's just... it's good. It's good. It's good. Reynard is now a soldier. That's great. Vess is now 7 provisions, up from 8, which is also good because it looks like we might need to have a couple more Zeal Givers as Visegrad loses formation. No compensation here. Oh, he's a soldier now. That's a difference. So Visegrad's a soldier, but no other compensation for this change. Now, you can argue that this is just a massive, massive hit. Now, let me explain why I'm pretty fine with this. First of all, Visegrad for 8 provisions. Let's be real. In a vacuum, card is dope. Really, really easy to set up, and it was a great finisher. You could argue that, I mean, if it never changed, I also would have been fine with that too. But Visegrad is now still as good as he was, but in different decks. And I think that this opens up Inspired Zeal to be a pretty realistic thing to run. But I don't know if this makes any sense at all because it's not like Visegrad got any sort of compensation to be better or not. So I think I'm just trying to find a silver lining where there is none. But, I mean, considering how they have done things to Northern Realms, I'd say pretty relatively unscathed with how good Northern Realms has been. Cinder Artificer, power creep boost. He's now 4 strength. Same with Cinder Knight, power creep boost up by 1 strength. Still a knight, no soldier change there. Kidwini Cavalry is now a soldier. So this one is just a side grade. Kidwini Knight, same thing. I mean, this is the same. This should be yellow too. Mad Charge gets a boost, but in no relevant way. And it's still as... I mean, it's better. It boosts by 4 and gives 3 vitality. So it's double buffed. It is actually a significant buff, but it's still the same kind of card. But you know what? Maybe you play this. Okay, I could see this. Maybe I could see playing with this. And then we got the power buff here on Siege support. Same thing with Agitator and Mahakam Guard. Both the power buffs. And Mahakam Volunteers now summons all copies instead of a copy. Pyrotechnician gets 2 armor. And Vride Saboteur gets a provision buff. But otherwise, only buffs for scoia'tael. None of them huge. You could argue that he could have used maybe something else. But very tame look at scoia'tael. And I think that that's good. They don't want things getting out of control by giving, changing too many things and then giving factions new things and finding out new busted stuff. So it seems pretty tame. And now we're going to jump to Second Wind here. Second Wind gets a provision buff, but a huge nerf in the ability. Now the Skellige unit that can be played from the graveyard needs to be 9 provisions or less. No more Morkvark, no more Wild Boar, no more Hemdall, no more, it goes on and on. I mean, anything. No more Herald. You can't play Herald anymore. So these are obviously just, it lowers the risk-free play that Skellige was enjoying. They could play anything, and then they could play it all again. This is a little bit different. You can't just drop Hemdall, Morkvark, and just be like, get them later. It's a little bit different now. So I think that actually increases the skill for Skellige, and this is honestly a fine change for me because I don't like risk-free gameplay. I don't like when Skellige, I mean, Lippy's still going to do this shit, but, they play 100 points, they laugh in your face, and then they play 100 more points, and you're just trying your hardest here. So it's a little bit better for that. Artis is now a druid. Herald does not go through armor with his ping. Rupture is now base damage and no longer boosted unit. So, I mean, do you even play this card anymore for 11 provisions? It's still a good card on pass, so we'll see. And now we get to the change that I like the least. The worst change, not only in this patch, but I think one of the worst changes Gwent has ever seen. The change to Vabjorn. Vabjorn used to be a 9 provision, 6 strength unit that on deploy on the melee road destroyed a damaged enemy. A completely playable and fine card, very often got you 9 to 11 points with removal. A great card, one of my favorite Skellige cards, and I played it a lot. This card is no longer in the game anymore. Because it just isn't in the game anymore. Meanwhile, Skellige now has a tutor for raid cards, because it's always good to think after having a massively oppressive patch where Skellige was just stepping on your face all day. It's good to ask, what does Skellige need? But they also need a tutor for the raid cards, which are already very good cards. 2 of those raid cards are tutors, Raiding Fleet and Blood Eagle. Plus, they can also tutor their 7 damage removal if anything has any armor on. I fucking hate this card, and I fucking hate this change. Crow's Eye Rhizome. Now, 4 provision card. This is actually great. A wild change. I didn't see this coming, but I'm always running this. Gone are the days of Mahakam Ale. You just run Rhizome now. It's a fantastic alchemy card. Dimmon Pirate. Another weird ability they just are trying to make work. But it's like the Skellige need to run a 7 for 5 when they can run like an 8 for 5. Drummond Berserker is that 8 for 5, but it used to be a 9 for 5, so it did get nerfed. The Berserk threshold was raised by 1, now transforms into its cursed abomination form 1 turn earlier, meaning that you get 1 less point out of it. And then Drummond Villager getting the bleeds. Oh, sounds like the battery is going out on my smoke alarm at a great time. It's okay. I'm only doing a recorded, long-winded speaking session. All right, so Drummond Villager now has a more reasonable bleed effect. I was living with this though, but I mean, I get it. And Svalblood Priest. Now this is huge. There's a couple of huge changes here. Not only is it a 5 provision card again, but it's a druid, which means that you can now run Priest Drakkar combo with Gedanith if you still can. I mean, they brought the provisions back up on Second Wind, and Ermion can still be pulled by Second Wind. I think you still can make that deck, and that's going to be the deck that we're going to try. Because I've gotten a couple people message me on YouTube as it collects dust. Well, you're watching this on YouTube right now, probably, except for the people in Twitch right now. But you know what I'm saying? We're going to be playing some Svalblood Priest Gedanith for sure, I think. Svalblood Ravager also got a little bit of the kind of the power creep adjustment here. So yeah, being a druid means you can grab it with it progresses the scenario, is what I was trying to say. You're playing Freya, you bring back the druid, you have a Drakkar on the board, you bring the druid out, you can use Mardrome on the Drakkar, breaking the armor, giving more points to the scenario as well. So that's kind of cool, right? Kind of good. Syndicate got probably the most changes, and some of the most interesting changes as well, because a lot of the changes that are done to Syndicate here is actually bringing Syndicate back down to launch strength when it comes down to their bounty cards, with the exception of the fact that you still can only have 1 bounty at a time. But like Witch Hunter, Executioner, and Swindle, these are like kind of like how strong they used to be when it first came out. First of all, Hidden Cache is getting nerfed, sort of. It's now a 14 provision leader limit, but you gain 3 coins once again every turn. The Hordes, this isn't going back to launch. The Horde still is 2 less, not 3 less. Desiree, we have buffed. I don't know if this needed a buff, but it definitely was underplayed, I think. But I don't think that's because of its provision cost. You know what? Maybe it was, because I mean, 10 is you hit those double digits, the card really starts changing what you can do with it. So it does occupy a slot in a lot of these cases. But just a straight up buff, Jacques de Aldesberg. So the big change here for Jacques is he still does all the same things on deploy, still has a prophet, still has a tribute, still spawns the Flaming Rose Footman. However, now when you play him, you can play him at different times in the game and it doesn't matter as much. He has a fee, so he's a spender. And whenever you play a Firesworn, you gain a coin to spend on Jacques. So this is very much a much more reasonable card. It was already doing Syndicate things, but really only helping one kind of deck. This now helps every deck that cares about coins, units, spawning, Firesworn, Salamandra, you know? It's just a much better card. Kurt gets a provision buff, but it's compensated by losing Intimidate. So now we have a 7 provision, 5 strength lock / Purify that is no longer an engine. Kurt was pretty well statted. I mean, an engine with a lock and Purify, I get it. It didn't seem impressive, but I guess they were kind of looking ahead on this one. Von Hurst, this is a change that I actually wanted to see right away. The Horde was too high. Now it's 4. Much more reasonable. The stratagem gets you there. So it's just a lot easier to hit it. Oh, A Forbes.
Happy New Journey Day. Here's to the great sun hopefully getting nerfed next season. There's always hope for the dilution of pure Nilfgaardian poison.
Pure Nilfgaardian poison. Yo, thanks so much for the 1,000 bits. Thanks, A Forbes. Thanks for stopping by. Big hype. Big hype on Journey Day. Here's the Professor. He has been buffed. This is another situation, like he came out at this level. This was the strength level that he was launched at. So we're back. Casino Bouncers, very good thinning card, 4 strength thinning card. You'd think they'd give this to something like Wild Hunt Riders. Cool. I mean, you do damage it when you play it, but if you have the fee, you know, it's a nice little thinning card now at 5. That Intimidate that Kurt lost, well, the Halfling Safecracker picked it up. This is a great card now, I think, because this is like a Venendal. It's a Venendal engine. This card was already, borderline to me because Syndicate wants to run a lot of crimes, and it was also a profit card. You think that if Syndicate didn't have already a lot of great choices at 5, this would be a playable card eventually. You know, it just seemed like this was already on launch. This card was already competing with Blacksmith, which was just too good, right? But now as an Intimidate engine with the same effect, pretty cool. You don't profit anymore, but you don't really need to. I think this is a great trade-off. So this card might see play. It might see play. Mutant Killer, also a Horde reduction here. Again, it works with the stratagem, so this is better than it looks. The threshold of 5 to 4 is kind of huge. I think it's pretty good here. Salamander Assassin, also another card art that makes the developers look at it and just not know what to do with this card. So, I mean, wow, this card's quite good now, isn't it? This card is quite good now, isn't it? Now it comes down to 5 provision, 4 strength, 1 armor, Intimidate engine with an on-order damage an enemy unit by 2, which makes Dip in the Pontar extremely good because now Dip in the Pontar has a 5 reach, gets a boost. So you have a reach of 2 to make it a 5 piece of removal. You also get the boost on the engine, and it's really annoying and probably not even worth it to remove this guy. So yeah, you know? Yeah. The half lingerie. What? The halfling? I love the half lingerie. Keck W. Yo, I got that. I caught that. Swindle is now profit 4 to 6. And for each allied crown splitter, reduce the minimum by 1. So you can get 6 out of this. Like, that's not that hard. It's harder to open with it, but 4 to 6 is how this was launched. The Tide Cloak Hideaway is now a 5 for 5 with its effect, which is a bit more acceptable. And now, what pirates were buffed here? Seems like none. Seems like none except for the Ransackers here. So, you know, just a modernization of the card's power level so it doesn't collect dust in the deck builder. Tide Cloak Ransackers, same edition, same thing here. Nothing else changes, just the strength. And finally, the Witch Hunter Executioner, back down to 5. Pretty good. Pretty good. Bounty is back in business. If we're playing Syndicate, we're playing Bounty because this is very, very interesting to me. But that is it, my friends. That is it. Those are the patch notes. Let's get into the rest of this stuff.